Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Glory Glory Man United podcast. I'm your host, as always, Kyle Quinn. And joining me today is Brushy. How's it going, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, Carl. Not too bad.
So, what we're going to talk about today um, is the preseason tour in America, um, the injury situation, the injury curse has struck again at Manchester United, and then we'll look ahead to the Community Shield against Manchester City, and then potential incomings this week as well, and maybe the odd outgoing too. The transfer market in terms of United has stalled a wee bit again after a good start. Um, but I want to reflect on the tour. So we lost to Arsenal, we beat Real Betis, and then we lost handsomely to Liverpool. But to tell you the truth, I'm not really worried about results. It's all about fitness and these preseason tours. Um, and it's the injuries that really concern me more than the defeats. I think United actually played pretty well against Liverpool, just really lacked a finisher in that game that was so obvious. Um, there were some positive elements to it, but there was some woeful defending as well. But both teams were nowhere near their strongest due to the Copa America and the Euros. I mean, some United players are only going to be joining training this week. So we're still going to be pretty depleted in the Community Shield and nowhere near our strongest 11. So I think the most negative aspect of the tour is the metatarsal injury to Lenny Yarrow, and of course Rasmus Højlund pulling his hamstring. So Højlund's out for 6 weeks and Lenny Yarrow is out for 3 months. So our new centre back signing, who was looking so well in those friendlies that he played in before he got injured, and looked like he was adapting to life at United pretty quickly, is now not going to make his competitive debut at least until October. It's so sad, isn't it, Brush?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, like you said, I'm on the same boat where I didn't really care about the results too much. Preseason for me is really just about fitness and to gauge where everyone's at. And yeah, I think we've had an injury every game.
Yeah, on average, yeah,
Yeah,
certainly.
yeah, because even in the Liverpool one, I saw Will Fish getting stretchered off.
Yeah, and obviously Rashford and Anthony picked up knocks in, I think it was the Betis game as well.
Yep, yep, yeah. So yeah, for injuries and stuff, it's been terrible. Um, Against Liverpool, I don't think the heat helped either. It was very hot there, apparently.
Yeah, was it South Carolina, I think, and this is
Hmm.
Southern America in August. It's going to be brutal. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, because they were saying like even in the stadium and stuff, like as soon as you come out of anywhere with aircon, you really feel it.
yeah, and our squad are not used to those conditions. They play in the winter in England.
No, yeah,
you know, but it is good in terms of gaining fitness for the new season because it's really hard on the body, and that's what you want really at this time of the year.
definitely. With young Euro, it's very disappointing, obviously. But being that he's 18, I mean, I was expecting him to come and take a little bit of time to acclimatize anyway. Uh, And then Xerxes now, well, he's going to have to step up, isn't he? Because we're in that situation again where there's no other striker.
Although Ten Hag has already said that Xerxes might not start against Fulham because he's only just started training there in the week, and he might make an appearance against Man City, but he definitely won't play the whole game.
Mm.
So he might not be up to the match sharpness required to start in the first Premier League games.
Well,
So
you know what that means, Carl. You know who's going up top.
could it be Sancho as a false nine? Surely not.
No, no, I think it's gonna have to be Rashi, hasn't it? Because with Sancho, I mean, I wasn't that impressed with him when I did see him against Liverpool as well. That one header that went amiss, nowhere near target.
Sancho and Anthony been looking pretty lethargic. and not surprised when it comes to Sancho anymore. But
Yeah.
Anthony's the one who's been saying recently that he really wants to stay at United and fight for his place, but
hmm
he's not really showing that in pre-season. If I'm honest,
I'll
actually
tell
pretty
you
well.
what, the one right winger I've been really impressed with during our preseason tour has been Ahmad.
Yeah, he is guaranteed to start now against Fulham, surely. Um,
Yeah, yeah, and he
he's
deserves a run as well as the main guy on the right wing.
he is number one in the packing order in the right wing position, in my opinion, and
Yeah,
surely in Ten Hag's opinion as well. I mean,
mm,
he's been the standout player for United in pre-season, uh,
definitely.
and of course
Uh,
he finished last season very strongly as well.
yeah, he did. Yeah, he just didn't have the minutes, did he? So hopefully this time he gets a proper go at it. Um, what do you make of the players missing though? Like, because I don't think this has been ideal preparation for us either. There's been so many players missing. Um,
Yeah, it's a wee bit of a mess because you even have a situation where Wan-Bissaka, who's about to join West Ham, played 90 minutes in our most recent friendly. What's that all about?
yeah, yeah, Garnacho's not there. Some of the other new signings aren't there, and then yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it all, to be honest.
And you have Maguire and Lindelof playing at the back again.
Yeah, yeah, and then I'm sure we'll get to that when we get around to the transfer segment of the show, where things have stalled a bit. Yeah, going to be quite a significant week ahead.
Definitely, Alex. Quite often when you need to come back from a tour, then that's when the movement really starts in terms of United's window. You'd always get one or two signings in June or July, but then it really kicks
Yeah,
in August when they come back from the tour.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and they start selling one or two players as well in that period, which they really need to do because it seems like United now have a one in, one out policy.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, in terms of the tour, Ahmad been the standout player, but also very pleased with some of the youngsters. Harry Amas has been playing most of the games at left back,
Yep.
and he's linked up well with Rashford. And I have to say, Rashford's looked motivated again in pre-season, which is good to
Mhm.
see. And
Which
that's
I was hoping for actually, Carl. I think the big shock for him would have been to be left out of that Euros team. I think that would have affected him.
but it may affect him in a positive way in terms of Manchester United because
Yeah,
he's got.
absolutely. Yeah, it's got to motivate him. If that doesn't, then I don't know what will. To be honest.
Yeah, and like we've joked about on numerous occasions in this show, he tends to have an off season, then an on season, and he's due a good one this time. So
Yeah, he really is. Although I was a bit annoyed though at the chance he missed against Liverpool. I was like, "Oh, Rashi, come on, man, you can do better than that. Need to get it on target."
yeah, 100%. But he's linking up well. That's what he missed last season was
Yep.
Luke Shaw. Um, but he looks like he struck up a wee bit of a partnership with Harry Amos, and given Shaw has only come back to training this week himself,
hmm
Harry could well find himself a left back against Fulham. That would be interesting. Um,
Yeah, yeah. There was three youth players that impressed me during this tour, and Hamas is one of them. Aside from Hamas, I was quite impressed with Murray as well, and Collier. They all look like they could play a part this season if they stick around.
yeah, I think Ten Hag is a big fan of Toby Collier. The question is he going to progress his development in house, or is he going to go on loan this season? That's a
Yeah,
decision.
that's the thing. Yeah, they need to gauge that, don't they? Because I mean, looking at how he's managed Kobe, um, I'd like to think that maybe there's a chance that he could stick around for a bit. But yeah, given his age and stuff, yeah, I totally understand as well if they want to send him out on loan for more first team.
I think if we get a DM in this window, I think he will be
hmm
sent out on loan because then his game time
Yeah,
will be very limited.
we do need one. Like you say, we need the stored stuff to start up again. Everything's just been on pause at the minute. Yeah.
Okay. Some comments here from Bath Time. He says, "I'm on holidays, but I saw Chairman Brushy's tweet. Always great to see new United streams." Well, I don't think I'm new at this point, but and he says, "Do you ever think how weird it was? Ollie wanted Sancho, Martial, Rashford in some kind of super introverted, shy front line. Um, yeah, I'll let you answer that one, Brush.
Uh, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know with Sancho, man, because anyone that watched Sancho the first time around at Dortmund, you could tell that he wasn't like a speed demon. He wasn't going to take players on the wing. He wasn't that kind of player. So I thought the whole thing was a bit strange, especially when it looked like we couldn't get the deal done. I mean, we moved on and got Amad Diallo in. I thought we had moved on from that totally. So I was quite baffled when we went back for Sancho on top of having Diallo.
I seen a stat the other day that since we signed Amadiallo, we've spent well over 200 million on other right wingers, which we didn't need. If we just
Crazy. And even him, I mean, it wasn't exactly cheap. The whole deal for him, I think, with all the add-ons and everything, was about 40 million. I think we only paid about 18 million up front, but the rest of it in add-ons, if he ever
yeah,
gets his chance.
yeah, if we just had a focused on developing him, we wouldn't have wasted so much money on Alexis Sancho and Anthony, who are now going to be so difficult to get rid of. And
Yeah, because of the wages and stuff. I mean, even with Sancho, I know they've drawn a line under it, and that's great. But I do believe he's only there because, they couldn't get rid of him. There's not sufficient interest, probably due to those wages.
yeah, the wages are going to be a massive issue. I think the Ed Woodward's crazy policy is going to linger for a while. It's going to take a long time to get these players off the books that he gave crazy wages to and paid massive transfer fees for. Um,
Definitely. It will take a couple windows.
yeah, I mean, Ineos look competent so far, but they're not miracle workers. So we're going to have to be patient
No,
with
they're
that one.
not. Yeah, yeah. And I know some people have been a bit annoyed that there's not as many outgoings. Um, but at the same time, you do need a squad. So I do worry, like, well, if we start selling off players, they all need replacing as well, don't they? And the season is just a matter of weeks away.
Yeah, so Wan-Bissaka looks like he's close to joining West Ham. West Ham been very busy in the market in recent
Very
weeks.
busy. Yeah, they've tried to pull off three, four signings at once, haven't they? I'm quite impressed with their Somerville deal, actually. I think he's a good player.
Yeah, what it quite often happens when a team gets a new manager, they want to please the new manager by
Hmm.
bringing in new players. So uh, it gives Aaron the chance to go back to London, which I think that he's wanted for a long time. That's home for him, and obviously he'd be a lot closer to Croydon, playing for West Ham. Um, and hopefully we can get decent money for him. I think we have to sell him now because he's got 1 year left on his deal.
And
Um,
hopefully that sets off a little domino effect as well, because if Wamby moves on, I hear from Fabrizio that we've actually agreed terms with Mazraoui and Ligt. So perhaps they're just working on the outgoings now to get those over the line.
yeah, given the injury to Leniaro, I think United will be keen to get Ligt and Mazraoui over the line. I think. Um, yeah, we need defensive reinforcements. We don't want to go into the Community Shield and, more importantly, the Fulham game with our centre back options being Maguire, Lindelof, and Johnny Evans. That's not progression.
Hmm.
These are squad players. Um, if everybody was fit, I think our first choice centre back pairing would be Martinez and Laniaro, in my opinion. But Martinez won't be up to speed with his fitness, and hopefully he can have a injury-free season as well. But he may not start against Fulham, given he's been away on holiday for 3 weeks following the Copa America. Um, so yeah, uh, Lindelof looks like the most likely centre back to leave. And I know there was interest from Fenerbahce earlier in the window, but that is kind of died a death a wee bit. There's no more talk about that.
Yeah, I've not really heard anything, to be honest. And he's only got a year left as well, hasn't
He does, yeah.
he? Yeah.
And obviously Maguire outperformed him last season, so if you want to keep somebody as backup, it would be Maguire. And
Yeah, definitely. I'll tell you what, last year was the first time I had no issues with Maguire. He was rock steady Eddie. He was always available, rarely injured, and away from the pressures of the armband and everything. I was quite pleased.
Yeah, yeah, I was as well. I wasn't convinced that he could get his form back, but he did.
Hmm.
Um, so Time here says it's not just right wingers. Casemiro and Ericsson were the marquee midfield signings for 2022, and we can't shift them 2 years later. Yeah, sometimes I forget Ericsson is even at the club, to be honest. Um, and I think he's 1 year left on his deal.
Yeah.
Casemiro has just looked well off the pace in pre-season again, just as he was last season.
Those Saudi links have dried up as well. I've not heard anything, so we're stuck with him.
Yeah, this the Saudi Pro League are not as prolific in the transfer market this season now.
No,
It's
they're not. Yeah, it seems that they've slowed down somewhat.
Did you see him? He was sat down for one of Liverpool's goals
Yep.
in that friendly. Casemiro. Yeah, it just reminded me of last season. He just looks like a player whose body is now letting him down,
Hmm.
and he
But
can.
again, these are things that competent people, do research into. It's very
Yeah,
rare that you sign someone who's over 30 and then put them on these kind of wages. And
but
the length of deal as well they offered, none of it made sense, did it?
no, it didn't. But I didn't think the decline would be this sharp and this rapid.
Mm.
Um, he was amazing in his first season, and in his second season, he just fell
And
off a
we,
cliff.
yeah, and we got to remember, like he turned 31 during that first season. He's what
Yeah,
33 now.
what I expected was a gradual decline. I didn't think it'd be this
Mm.
sharp this quickly, but it is just no longer the same player anymore, and I don't think he ever
Yeah,
will be again.
sometimes it does tend to hit you all of a sudden like that as well. Aubameyang, after he signed that deal at Arsenal, was never the same when he reached a certain age. I know he had a bit of a revival at Barcelona for a couple of months, but and his last spell at Marseille wasn't so bad. But
Yeah,
it's
I was just
terrible
gonna
when it happens.
And I was just going to say that what Bathtime says here, the Saudi Pro League had put out like an announcement halfway through last season. I think it was that they were going to be signing young players. They were going to prioritize young players and not going to be bringing in veterans anymore. So maybe that's why Casemiro hasn't found a club out there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. Vaughan's given the example of Diaby. Yeah, they do seem to be trying to get the younger talent who are in their prime.
yeah, I think initially they wanted the big superstar names to the get
Traction.
recognition for the league. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and now they've kind of somewhat established themselves, haven't they? Like people associate the Saudi league with football now, so now they can move on to just
now they want
youngsters.
they want to build 11s that can compete then because I think their long-term goal is to get a team into the Champions League, which
It is
world's
going to be
treasury.
utterly ridiculous, but it wouldn't surprise me the way it's all going.
Yeah, I mean we're going to have 8 group games this season in the Champions League and the Europa League. I think it's not anything called a group phase anymore. It's called like
Yeah, it's like a big league table, isn't it? Yeah,
yeah, it's a good round robin phase, something like that. Yeah, because you don't actually play everybody home and away. You play like is it 4 home games and 4 away games against 7 different teams or 8 different teams, whatever it is.
which I also found quite baffling.
Yeah, it, it is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it.
Well, we can hope that common sense prevails, depending on the reception to it. Because I remember years ago in the Champions League, they had two group stages, and then they tried that out for a few years and got rid of it.
Yeah, it's. I think this is a compromise to keep away the Super League. They don't want that resurfacing again, so they want to create more games and have more fixtures between the big clubs and uh, to, to kind of fend off because Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Juve, for example, did not agree to pull out of the Super League, so that threat is still lingering there. So for the Premier League clubs, it's not a priority because they've got the revenue, whereas
How ironic would it be if that competition turns into what the Champions League used to be?
Yeah, it would be ironic.
Seeing as the Champions League has now essentially become the Super League.
Yeah, just under UEFA's banner. Yeah. Um, he says here, to be honest, if you're getting a superstar, you want someone that scores goals and excites crowds. Uh, not someone who waddles about the pitch, occasionally breaking into a slight tackle. Yeah, maybe that's another point. Maybe the Saudi clubs have looked at Casemiro's performances and thought he's not going to
Mm.
bring anything to the table. This is this is a guy who's done. Um,
Having said
yeah,
that, though, I mean, last year they did sign Fabinho, and Fabinho is one of the quickest declines I've ever seen in a player.
yeah, but
It was
then
crazy because that is prior in his prime. I'd say he was probably like top five.
yeah. Yeah. What is it about Brazilians and just overnight declines? Ronaldinho had a massive decline overnight as well.
I think he was a party animal, though, wasn't he? So it was
Yeah.
more so his lifestyle that led to his decline. Uh, in terms of the talent, he really should have been at his game a lot longer than he was.
Yeah, his peak didn't last very long, did it? It was about 4 years or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, he was only at Barca for 5 years, and then by the time he rocked up at AC Milan, he was already less of a player than he was.
Yeah, 100%. Uh, so we're waiting on. I think it's absolutely not certain, but I think it's 90% certain now that United will sign those two defenders from Bayern Munich. And ironically, again, despite bringing in a new football department, we're bringing in two more players that have played under Ten Hag uh, previously. Actually, it is
I'd
quite.
I'd I'd like to think that that isn't the primary reason that these guys will be arriving. I think that was the problem we had before, wasn't it? So now that we've actually got structure, I'm hoping there is a plan in place, and obviously they want it to fit with what we're trying to do. But irrespective of manager, I hope that there's a long-term vision for all of the players that are joining.
Yeah, you would think so because Dan Ashworth is an extremely competent director of football. I'm sure
Yeah,
he would have
yeah.
signed
The only
someone.
thing similar to this I've seen was in the early Louis van Gaal years at Barcelona. There was a lot of Dutch players during his time in the late '90s and early 2000s.
Yeah, to be fair, Joshua Zirkzee was on United's list, and apparently, according to the Laurie Whitwell of the Athletic, he was someone that United's had been watching. Um, he's someone United would have been interested in even without Ten Hag. That's what I'm trying to say. So it might look like a Ten Hag signing because he's Dutch, but United's scouting department had been watching him for a long time, and because he's Dutch, then Ten Hag then is going to sign up to it, then isn't he? But yeah, it
Yeah,
is. It
yeah.
is
Like I
ironic.
say, as long as it's not the primary reason, it's all good.
It is ironic though in the summer where so much change has happened above Ten Hag. Now, we have a competent football department, and we were expecting so much power being taken away from him in terms of transfers. But we've ended up signing a lot of Dutch players and players that have played under him more than ever in this window. Or that's what it looks like anyway. If
To
we
be
sign it,
fair, though, I hope he gets everything he wants because then there'll be no excuses, right?
yeah. And in addition to that, all the coaches have been Dutch as well. Everybody underneath him has changed too,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
a
And
lot of them have been Dutch.
I was a bit surprised as well with one or two of the roles, like with Hake and Van Nistelrooy actually being managers. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's an
and
interesting one.
the set pieces coach that we brought in from Lindstrom in Sweden, he's a first team manager as well. He's given up a job as manager to come be United set pieces coach. That's wild. Um, so we just have a big dugout full of managers now. Um,
Basically,
um, I was listening to a podcast from the Manchester Evening News, and their chief correspondent Samuel Luckhurst saying that just looking at Van Nistelrooy on the touchline, he's more than just an assistant coach. He looks like a deputy manager. He's very, very hands on. He's very vocal on the
I
touchline.
tell you what, we spoke about that, didn't we? That listen, that could be the succession plan.
Yeah, but if it is, I hope it's after a successful stint under Ten Hag and not, someone who's going to replace Ten Hag this season. That's the scenario that we want. Um, we don't want him to be in place because with a view to replacing him in the short term. You want Ten Hag to win the Premier League and then Van Nistelrooy to replace him after that. But we'll see how it pans out. Um, yeah, it looks like what we're going to see. Van Nistelrooy is not going to be like Benny McCarthy, where you don't see him that often. Sometimes doesn't even travel to away games. Van Nistelrooy is going to be front and center, which
Yeah,
is
and also apparently Rude played his role in convincing the young lad Chido Obi Martin to sign as well. Young forward from Arsenal, only 16 years old.
yeah. I would say what Van Nistelrooy is looking forward to the most is working with young strikers.
I think that's what we're looking forward to the most as well.
Yes, yeah, yeah. No, with the potential lack of number nine or lack of fit number nine to start the season, can Van Nistelrooy not go in there against Fulham for play 60 minutes? And
Instant flashbacks of what he done to Fulham at Old Trafford when he ran from the halfway line.
yeah, I mean he must have scored a bucket loads of goals against Fulham. Did he scored his debut against Fulham as well, maybe if I remember correctly, and he scored a few goals at Craven Cottage as well. They seem to be one of his whipping boys, if my memory serves me correctly. But and he had a few of those, to be fair.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, he scored everywhere, didn't he?
yeah. Yeah, I had to say though, it is very exciting having him there. Um, a man he's a manager in his own right. He's been reasonably successful with PSV. Um, and he had the opportunity to be a manager in England, and he turned that down to be United's assistant manager. So it's and he has the potential to take over from Ten Hag. So it's hugely exciting having him there. Just who he is. He has an aura about him, doesn't he? Just given what he's achieved at United and in the game in general. Of course, he played for Real Madrid as well. So yeah, remember he scored one goal from outside the box for United, and he went to Real Madrid and scored a hatful of them outside the box. I was a wee bit frustrated by that, but that's just the way things worked out.
Yeah, it
But
was a crazy stint at Madrid for those 2 years. I think in the first season he played with Ronaldo as well.
um,
The
yeah,
the original. Because I was listening to a podcast with him a little while ago, and he was talking about how amazing R9 was in training.
yeah, he's just an unbelievable player. I mean, he's one of the very few opposition strikers R9 to get a standing ovation when he's been substituted at Old Trafford. That just tells you the genius of the guy. Um, that was when he scored the hat trick when Real Madrid were in black that night in 2003, when Abramovich fell in love with football and decided to buy one of the clubs in England off the back of that.
Yeah.
Um,
And then
and
started the decline of English football.
yeah. Um, so Manchester City up next in the Community Shield. They have had a very, very mixed pre-season as well. I think they even lost to Celtic. Um, Lost another game as well, but beat Chelsea 4-2. A lot of their players will have missed pre-season because of the Euros and the Copa America. The goalkeeper, he seems like he's going to the Saudi Pro League if he hasn't already. Julian Alvarez is going to Atletico Madrid. There seems to be a lot of departures from Man City.
So
Um,
yeah, I was hearing that Edison had actually agreed terms, but they couldn't agree on fee. And the initial club that was interested have moved on to a much cheaper alternative. But yeah, he looks as if his head is you know, is looking over at Saudi and the millions and millions on offer.
Amazing, really, given that the salaries a Man City can pay, being
Yeah,
owned by Abu Dhabi, and that's not enough. He wants to go to the Saudi Pro League,
I
but
mean it's tax free over there as well, isn't it? So
yeah. uh, Um, Julian Alvarez obviously not happy with the fact that he's not starting games. So he wants to move on. But in each of the last three windows, Man City have lost big players in the window. Um, Maybe deliberately so because they want to recoup fees to tyrannically stay in line with the PSR rules. But
Hmm.
that's something we'll not get into today. Um, which yeah, it seems as if their bench is getting a wee bit weaker these days. Um,
We say that every year, though, don't we? Bloody Pepe,
but
pulls it out the hat. I
they
just need
they
him to go away, to be honest.
they won the league by the skin of their teeth, and they lost to United in the FA Cup final, and they couldn't. What was striking in the FA Cup final is that he couldn't change the game with the bench. And normally he would be able to do that, but he wasn't
Yeah, yeah.
able
Despite
to.
the best efforts of Onana, it has to be said,
Yeah,
because those last couple of minutes, Jesus. Oh,
yeah, yeah. They're not. They just don't look as intimidating as what they have done. So it wouldn't surprise me if Arsenal were to win the league by a point this season. I know you won't like me saying that, of course, but
I mean, to be honest, I mean they're probably the ones that are most settled in terms of the fact that there's no managerial changes. They've kept their squad together. They've added to it slowly. So yeah, they're probably the most likely to challenge. But ultimately, though, with the experience and what we've seen over the past 4 years, I can't see beyond City at this moment in time. I mean, I don't think they dropped a point after Christmas, did they?
ooh, I can't remember. Um, yeah,
And such are the levels that Arsenal really it was only Aston Villa that tripped them up.
yeah, that was a very costly loss that day
Yeah, yeah,
at
and that's
home
all
to
it took.
Aston Villa.
So yeah, the slightest of margins, but yeah, after everything they've achieved, unfortunately, I still think they'll be favourites.
They'll always be favourites until they lose, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can't wait till the days that we can start talking about ourselves in such conversations, but very, very early days.
yeah, unless we do a Leicester this season, then we're not going to be in that conversation.
Yeah, I've spoken to one or two United fans who are somewhat deluded, who would like to think that there could be uh, a title charge of sorts. But when you really look at what we've done thus far, like you know, um, a lot of the changes I've been impressed with have been behind the scenes and off the pitch. On the pitch, when you really think about it, we've bought one rotational striker whose prolific, high-scoring season last season resulted in about 12 goals, and the other is an 18-year-old centre back. You know,
Yeah, these are players for the future, really.
yeah, it's not players for the immediate. It's not for here and now.
And as Eddie says here, he says it could be a countdown till fans cheer Rude as he takes over from Ten Hag, who seems like he's going to have another unlucky injury ravaged season. Uh, yeah, it's kind of going that way already, isn't it? I hate to be
Yeah,
negative in pre-season.
yeah. I mean, what can you really do though about some of those injuries?
This
Um,
is why he has mentioned that he wants a strong squad because he knows that there's going to be injuries during the campaign, and we need to insulate ourselves from those injuries by having a strong squad. So we've got a lot more work to do to make that happen in this month. But yeah, I expect those two defenders from Bayern to be in by next weekend. Um, and then we need to get the defensive midfielder in. Now there've been some links to maybe United signing a third striker, and even Ivan Tony's being mentioned, but I don't see that happening really at the moment.
I
Um,
also don't see the need for a third striker in a system where you play one striker. There's other things for us to do in the squad before we look at another striker, if at
yeah,
all.
and I think that in terms of the left back situation, Luke Shaw will always get injured at some point during the campaign. Last season was particularly
Yeah,
bad,
that's what I mean. That's yeah.
but
For me, it was imperative they bring in another left back.
but it
But
looks as
I'm
if
not.
what they're going to do is the Harry Amos is going to be the cover for.
Yeah, yeah. So it's going to be sink or swim, I guess, because he's so young as well. Like you have to give him time. and young players will make mistakes. I just hope people are patient with him.
Yeah, definitely have to be patient with him. I will be, but you know what some fans are like online.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, people need to realize. I mean, the kid gets what he's. I think we're about 2 weeks out from him getting his GCSE results. It might be next week actually. Just for a reality check for people.
I
I
know
think it's
it's
usually a week before the A level results, so it might be next Thursday.
crazy. Um, just like the young winger for Spain and Barcelona, Yamal, he's such a young lad too, but amazing talent.
I mean, but you know that, yeah, we shouldn't compare to that because that happens what once every decade,
Yeah, he's
maybe.
a freak, and he like Wayne Rooney.
Yeah, yeah, like Rooney when he burst onto the scene. It's crazy. It's one of those ones.
Yeah. So Luke Shaw will obviously be first choice if he's fit, but Malacia is still there. He could be a write off at this point. We just
We,
don't
we,
know
we
how that's
don't we
going to
don't
go.
know what's happening with Malasia. It's a crazy one.
If he goes another season without making an appearance, that's got to be
Yeah,
game over. There's no way he's getting a new contract after that.
yeah, yeah. At this point, I just want anybody in for cover. Even a regular on type loan signing, I would not mind. I just need another left back there. It would make me feel better.
Yeah, but at least with I know he's young, Harry Amos, and in an ideal world, you don't want to be playing any more than 15 games this season. But with him there, at least we have a left-footed option in that position. Now, what was particularly bad about last season and what really caused us so many problems in attack and defence was having these right-footed players at left back, like Lindelof and Amrabat. That was just horrendous. You know, when you've got left backs, you're not only right-footed but will not cross the halfway line, and it makes your attack so predictable because they always have to come down the other side of the pitch. And then it really didn't help Rashford either. You know, having no one to link up with on that side. You know, so it's just having a left footer who can provide overlapping runs is something. So it's great to have Harry Maas available to us. But looks like he is going to be thrown in the deep end if Shaw's not going to be fit for most of the season. But yeah, Luke Shaw, we even seen in the Euros, you know, the 2.5 games that he played, just how good he can be, even when he's not 100% match fit. Such an intelligent player. He can also fill in centre back as well. So hopefully this season will be a bit better for him, and he can, maybe play 30 games this season across all competitions, and
hmm And
probably the best.
if the Mazraoui thing comes off, then he's quite versatile as well, where he can play both sides. I was watching Bayern play Arsenal in the Champions League last season, and Mazraoui was on the left wing.
Uh, yes, that would be great, but we know that Dallo is quite versatile as well. I'm just hoping that Mizrahi is more of a natural left back.
And I
Um,
hope his injury record isn't too much of a concern because when I was looking at it, that was one of the things that uh, that annoyed me a little bit with him.
well, if anyone's injury prone, we sign them. Um,
And also, I don't know how you feel about Wamby, but I do think he has his uses. But I suppose it's one of those where you have to back what they're trying to do if they're trying to play a different way, and they've identified a different sort of fullback. Because yeah, with Wamby, I think there'll be certain games where you need to keep it tight and compact, and he's great defensively. It's just that the rest of it.
yeah, in both domestic cup finals that Ten Hag won, Wan-Bissaka played key roles in those. Um, against Saint Maximin in the League Cup final, and then when Pep Guardiola brought in Doku in the FA Cup final, Wan-Bissaka did really well against him. So he does have his uses, but like you say, I see the other side of the argument where you can understand why they want to have a player that suits what they're trying to do, and who
Yeah, that's
doesn't.
what it is, isn't it? So yeah, if we're truly trying to switch styles and that suits, then I guess we have to just back it. But yeah, because it's a bit of a strange one, that one. Because given his age as well, like I wouldn't have been opposed to giving him a contract extension either, and just keep him as a backup. Provided the wages were. in line with everything.
But there could be an element of like it has been well documented that he is homesick, and and I don't.
I move
What I've,
closer to London or back to London.
yeah, what I've read is that he doesn't actually want to sign a new deal himself for that reason.
Oh, fair enough. Well, if that's the case, then yeah, I guess we've got no option but to cash in. Under the old regime, we would have just let these players leave for free, and better to get something than nothing. I guess.
Yeah, and we can only sell players that clubs want. And that's the issue with the Casemiro and McTominay situation. Us as fans would like Casemiro to moved on and McTominay to be kept as a squad player. I think most
Yep.
fans would go along with that. But McTominay is the one that clubs want,
That's
not
gaining
Casemiro.
interest. Yeah, yeah, because I think Fulham have had one bid turned down, haven't they? And if they come back with a package with another 5 to 10 million, I think we probably take it. But yeah, like you say, out of the two, if you gave me an option, I'd rather we sell Casemiro than Scotty.
Yeah, but I think we're going to be saddled with Casemiro. No, with all due respect. Um, he's he's been a great player, a legend of the game. Did superbly well in his first season at United, but I think he's past it now. And
Yeah.
when you're rebuilding, you don't want to have players who are past it in your team.
hmm
But
Yeah. Listen, if he stays, I reckon we're gonna at some point in the season we're gonna have these conversations on, oh, should he play at left? Should he play as a centre back?
yeah, but no, even in pre-season and we've seen it in the back end of last season as well. No matter how bad he is overall, he always chips in with goals. It's something that he'll
Yeah,
never
he
lose.
likes to attack, doesn't
Yeah.
he? Sometimes he's been our most potent threat, which is quite a mad thing to say.
Yeah. I think by the end of September last season, he was our top goal scorer. And then he was out injured for about 3 months and obviously lost that position. But then at the end of last season, he was scoring goals again and scored goals in pre season. Because he's always a threat from set pieces. Massive, massive threat.
Yeah,
He attacks the ball and he's a good
yep,
header of the
yep.
ball.
Likes to get on the end of things.
Um, yeah, so he might be here for at least one more year. Those Saudi
The
was our only hope.
the Ugarte things as well have gone a bit quiet, but PSG have signed Ruben Neves now, so hopefully there's some traction there too. But
Yeah,
it's probably dependent on Scotty.
yeah, I think United will have to sign or sell McTominay in order to sign Ugarte. I think that's becoming obvious now. I
Yeah,
think
and with
that's where
Scotty, for me, I'm not as harsh a critic of Scotty as others are. I think he's been a good servant to the club. But he's probably getting to that age now. He's 28 in December, so he might be thinking to himself, this last leg of my career now, where I can go and be a first teamer for a couple of seasons.
yeah, he gets a lot of stick for being a limited footballer, and then other fans appreciate the goals that he has scored. But I think if he leaves, then everybody will say, "Yeah, he's been a great servant." Be one of them ones.
Yeah,
Um,
defo. Nicky Butt vibes. Because Nicky Butt, he just quite never
yeah,
complained, always got on with it. And I think he was about 28 as well when he went to Newcastle.
yeah, but I would say Nicky Butt was a better player than McTominay. To
Oh
be fair.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, the only thing they had in common is the fact that yeah, they were good rotational options who were raised by the club.
yeah, one in the treble winning era and one in an era where we're finishing eighth. So obviously there's a difference in their quality. Um, but yeah, in terms of the community shield itself, do you care if we win or lose?
Nope, nope. It really annoyed me some years ago when Jose called it a trophy. I think that really set people off. Yeah, I never cared about the charity shield. Uh, yeah, it's just about fitness and it's a nice day out.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It'd be nice to win, but if we lose, then we won't really care. Like, to be
I
honest.
really don't care, to be honest. I just need to make sure that we kickstart the season with 3 points on the board. Bring on Fulham.
Yeah, that's way more important. Um, yeah, it's just a glorified friendly, really, isn't it? Um,
Yeah, basically.
uh, but I don't like losing to them in any kind of game.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was superb to beat them in the FA Cup final. So
In the Fergie era, it used to be that we lose the Community Shield and then we go on to win the league.
let's lose this game then. uh, I think it's the first time we have competed in the Community Shield since 2016. That just shows you how big the decline has been from Manchester United, and because obviously it's between the team who's won the league
The
and the
league
team,
title and the FA Cup, yeah,
and if
yeah,
a team does the double, then it's the team who finishes second in the Premier League. Um, so we've neither finished first or second or won the FA Cup for you know, well actually finished second on the Mourinho, didn't we? And then
yeah, yeah. But
and
you say
then
second when you actually look at the table, it was like 20 something points
yeah,
disparity between first and second. It was crazy.
I think we finished second on Mourinho and finished second on the Solskjaer, I think, as well in one of the seasons.
Yep.
But in the way it worked out was it wasn't the league champions who won the FA Cup in those seasons, so we
Hmm.
never got the chance to compete in it. So we have to go all the way back to Mourinho's first game, effectively in charge of United when United played Leicester in the Community Shield because they won the league. That's how long
Wow.
it has been. And I think Jesse Lingard scored in that Community Shield. I think we won because I remember Mourinho counting it as a trophy, as you say.
Yeah.
Um, yep. So I don't even know. Like Menu is back, is just back in training. So is Martinez. So is Garnacho. What I don't know. These players are not going to play any more than bench roles in this Community Shield. I would presume. Um, yeah, but I think he's going to look to new signings will affect this obviously, but he's going to look to play the team that he plays against City. He wanted to be as close as possible to the team that starts against Fulham in an ideal world.
Hmm.
Um, but obviously, if the Ligt comes in, he might, and he doesn't play against City, he might play him against Fulham. So new signings could affect that. But I think yeah, Dallow's another player who's not played a part in preseason yet, so he might not start against City or Fulham either. So Mazraoui might even go in from the start in those games. Baptism of fire against Fulham. Uh, what do you think if the Ligt comes in? Do you think he'll be first choice?
He should be on paper. I know he's been rotational at Bayern and during his time at Juve, which might be a cause for concern for people. But different managers like different things. At United, he's at the right age and of experience to certainly hold down a first team place.
Absolutely, yeah. He's even for a 24-year-old, he has the experience of a 31-year-old.
Yeah, yeah. I
Um,
mean, he was captain of Ajax at 19. He's moved all around Europe. He's got everything on paper that you could want in terms of career and experience.
Here's a question for you: will Ten Hag make him captain, or will he keep Bruno as captain?
No, I don't think he'll upset the apple cart. I think he'll keep Bruno as captain. I think that armband only leaves him if Bruno leaves.
And there's another player who hasn't played any role in preseason yet, Bruno Fernandes. So this is
Yeah.
why I don't give a toss about losing friendlies to Liverpool in the
Hmm.
USA. Half our team not even there.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and you remember 2 years ago in Thailand when we beat him and Martial was scoring for fun and people were making a big deal out of it, and then the season started, and it just goes to show preseason really doesn't matter.
it doesn't. And 2015 under Van Gaal, we famously won every single preseason game.
Yeah,
Didn't matter.
didn't matter.
Irrelevant.
Hmm. I
Um,
do wish they would start catering these tours more so to the players, though. I feel as though at the moment it's just a money grab kind of thing.
yeah, 100% is. And uh, Snapdragon, we are heavily involved with United now. I mean, we played in the Snapdragon Stadium. The tour was sponsored by Snapdragon.
Yeah,
Snapdragon, I,
I tell you what, I've been
I
very
know what you're going
impressed
to
with some of
say.
these stadiums.
I, yeah, yeah, amazing stadiums. uh, and obviously they have a lot of AC facilities because of the temperatures out there.
Yeah, because of the temperature. Yeah, but I've seen some of the little stadium tours and all the places we visited, and it's amazing.
Snapdragon are now interested in the naming rights of the new Old Trafford as well.
Mm,
I seen that one coming.
interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll tell you what, depending on what they do, there was one of the stadiums they visited that had like this 360 screen, which was really cool. Um, yeah, I thought, wow, okay, imagine seeing any kind of replay or anything on that. That's mad.
Yeah, that is crazy. And
Yeah, yeah,
we
like a
we
360 screen just hanging in the air, like that you can see it from any seat you're sat in. You can see everything clearly. I was like, wow. And apparently they had a roof as well, a retractable roof. Amazing stuff.
yeah, it's very new. I think it only opened last year. That Snapdragon Stadium.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and the amount of space as well. So when people are walking past to get to their seats, you don't have to get up.
Wow, that is new technology. I've never been in a stadium like that.
Yeah, so I thought that was amazing. Considering the amount of seats as well, because it could still hold like 70, 80,000. But then, yeah, it was so big, it was purposely built so for convenience.
Yeah, that is very modern indeed. The new Old Trafford needs to be like that too. Um,
Yes, yes.
so what's it
And
going to be
perhaps with the
called?
waterfall function. New Trafford.
Yeah, I was going to say like then if it's going to be if it's going to be sponsored, it's going to be Snapdragon, I think. So either it's just going to be called Old
Yeah,
Trafford again. It's going to be called Snapdragon Old Trafford, or it's going to be called New
yeah.
Trafford. Which one do you think it's going to be, or
Yeah, yeah. Ah,
or what would you like it to be?
I'd like it to be. Well, I'd like it to keep the Trafford name in it, ideally, but ultimately, I don't know, man. In the new modern era of things, it's likely to be a sponsorship deal, isn't it? Like buy and play at
Yeah,
the Allianz. So some of the biggest clubs have made that change. So it's
yeah.
a progression, I guess.
And with the project costing 2 billion,
Yeah, you're
you need
gonna
as
have
much
to offset it.
revenue as possible. Yeah, you need revenue.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we can't all have just oil-rich people just financing everything with no limits. So you have to look at these things from a business point of view. And yeah, some of the biggest clubs have moved as well. Because this is another thing that's in contention. Should we even move away from the current stadium because of the history and everything behind it? I mean, they did it in Juventus, to move away from the Deli Alpi. Atletico Madrid have moved to a new stadium. Bayern, like we mentioned. So San Siro seeing work done now. So yeah, there's a lot of places that have upgraded. The Santiago Bernabeu, which we checked out last season, it's incredible what they've managed to do.
Yeah, I think New Trafford's going to be on the same site, so it's not going
Yeah.
to move anywhere. The question will be is whether we will keep the old stadium or not, and keep
Hmm.
uh, could be used for youth games and women's games and so on, and even just for sentimental value. You don't want the Old Trafford as it is now being turned into a block of flats.
No, that's not what you'd want. Although with the property of that size, that's probably what happens now, isn't it? Unfortunately, but yeah, if they could keep it open for I don't know, maybe for the women's games, and just maintenance it as well, and fix it up. Just you can keep it for the stadium tours and all of that as well, because that brings in a lot of revenue. It's a historic thing, isn't it? So yeah, I wouldn't like for it to
Yeah,
be taken down.
yeah, and I think they're actually talking about a major link between the Old Trafford site and Media City, because
Mm,
just adjacent to Old Trafford is Coronation Street Studios and Media City, BBC, and all that. So they want to maybe link up those things. Yeah, I think they're going to build houses and all in the area as well. So,
yeah.
but like what we've seen at the Etihad campus, it's been
Hmm.
a lot of money invested in the community as well as the infrastructure. So, I see United probably want to do something similar. But yeah, the the mobile phone company Snapdragon clearly want to invest an awful lot of money in Manchester United, so that's great. But
Hmm.
given they're from China, so 100% next summer is going to be a pre-season tour to China, sponsored by Snapdragon. You can just see it.
And listen, that's a market that is untapped, really, isn't it? And over 1 billion people, and that it makes sense.
Yeah, they
Uh,
go. When
yeah,
Madrid and United come out to Asia, they go
yeah,
wild,
yeah, yeah,
wild out there.
yeah.
Um,
Listen, you remember when we had Park Ji Sung, the reception he used to get when we used to go to South Korea. Um,
yeah, yeah, no,
and
he's like David
yeah,
Beckham in South Korea.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's amazing. Him and Son, they can't go outside. um, so yeah, and I think we tried to do something similar back in the day with China. Do you remember a striker we had called Dong Fangzhou?
Yes,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, I remember him playing like one game against Chelsea. It wasn't very good, bless him. Uh, but this was those days where you just looked at it and you thought, yeah, you're definitely trying to get into that market there with that signing.
Yeah, he played in that game where Chelsea gave us a guard of honor coming out onto
Yeah.
the pitch at Stamford Bridge when already won the title
Hmm.
prior to that game, where Mourinho as Chelsea manager, I think they drew at the Emirates, I think, and it guaranteed us the title. And then he famously went up to the Chelsea away and going, keep your chin up, keep your chin up. And then I
Hmm.
think the United away fans at Stamford Bridge that night were mocking Mourinho because they were all doing this here. Yeah, just I remember that very well. I was in the same time where Chris Eagles scored that famous goal at Goodison Park as well.
Yes,
Mm,
yes, against Everton. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we came from
Chris
2-0
Eagles.
down to win
Yes.
4-2 in that game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Phil Neville with the OG for
yeah.
um for us in an Everton shirt. He sticks the ball in the back of the net. You're like, oh,
What
that's a
once
good.
a red, always a red.
Yeah. Yeah. Immediately, a lot of the ABUs are very suspicious of that one.
Yeah, yeah. He
But
was a
he
good servant for them. He was even their captain, wasn't
he was. Do you remember the
he?
time
Yeah,
he absolutely snapped Ronaldo in half when he was playing for
yeah,
Everton?
yeah, yeah. Ah, for me, the highlight for Phil Neville would always be that one game we had against Arsenal at Old Trafford, where he played as a DM and he absolutely bossed that midfield. I don't know what had gotten into him, but yeah, he was superb.
Yeah, I think it was a game 1-2-0 at Old Trafford against Arsenal, wasn't it?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I remember Seba scored that day, and I think Scholesy got the other one. But
Is
yeah,
that when
he was
Arsenal were did
incredible.
Arsenal wore those navy away that navy away kit with O2
Oh,
on?
I can't remember if it was the
I think
navy one or the yellow one
yeah, I
because
think
they,
it was
they they had a bright yellow one as well, didn't they? With O2.
yeah, that was.
Yeah,
I think they were wearing the yellow one in the game where Vieira was sent off for kicking
they were
out.
yeah, they were definitely in the yellow one when Keown jumped on Van
Yeah,
Nistelrooy.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I think it
but
was the
that was
same
sometime
game.
later.
It was the same
Yeah.
game where Vieira kicked out at Van Nistelrooy and
Mm.
was sent off for that.
Mhm.
And yeah, and for years, Arsenal fans blamed Van Nistelrooy on getting Vieira sent off. You're
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I
have it,
mean, listen, he didn't need
please.
any help getting sent
Yeah,
off.
I know. Come on, he's the most red cards in Premier League history, doesn't he?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't
Yeah.
think anybody's beat that. Yeah, his record's crazy.
Um, but yeah, I was really optimistic a couple of weeks ago, but the injuries have really curtailed my optimism now.
Yes. And the fact that things have slowed down in the market as well, and we're just waiting for this and that to happen, and the fact that what the season's about 2 weeks away. It's all just happening very fast, isn't it? And then when we really look at the squad, it's the same team as last season. That's going to start the season.
Yeah, and I hate when that happens.
Like I could see a scenario in which our starting 11 is one from last year.
Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully it's at least one new player in the
Yeah.
lineup against
So
Fulham.
yeah, so
Um,
that's why I'm just I'm quite calm about it, to be honest.
and we've got Fulham at home and then Brighton away, and then Liverpool at home. Like it's not the easiest of
Hmm.
starts. Like so we really need to be getting our a lot of our main players who haven't featured yet in pre-season. We need to be getting them up to match fitness as quickly as possible. Yeah, no doubt. And knowing Bruno's character, he will not want to ease his way back in. He'll want to start against City and start against Fulham.
Oh,
You
most
know,
definitely. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. And then a
yeah,
big season coming up for Mason Mount as well. We'll have to see what he can provide.
yeah.
Um,
He stayed fit the whole way through pre-season. That's a good start.
yeah, yeah, because
Yeah, I
yeah,
would love to
big,
see
big,
him
big
do
year
well.
for him.
Yeah, yeah, because he's getting a lot of stick from Chelsea fans, so I'd love to see him do well.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and some United fans are still saying, "What was the point of this guy? What's he even doing here? Get rid
hmm
of him." Don't think that's fair.
A lot of criticism he's getting his way as well for the number 7 shirt. Well, it's not like he
Yeah,
picked it out himself. Do you know what I mean? Like it was given to him.
yeah, yeah. It's become a bit of a curse in recent times, but
Yeah.
yeah, he's there's definitely a player in there. He just needs to stay fit and get a run of games.
hmm
Um, so we shall leave it there for today. Everyone, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and get more of your thoughts in down below. And hopefully, we'll have a couple of guests on this month. I'll certainly be here to talk about the Community Shield and the Fulham game and the Brighton game and so on. But I'm hoping to have a few guest appearances in between. So, been a pleasure as always, Bruce, having you on the show.
Nice. Yes. Thank you for having me. It's always good to chat.
All right, I'll see you later.
Take care.